Hello and welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. You are very welcome today. It's an all DC and one bit of Marvel day, so I think that we're going to enjoy ourselves. Yael is here.
Hi.
Yael Tygiel.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
I was a little nervous that I was going to mispronounce it.
It was perfect.
Thank you. You're perfect and welcome. It's so nice to have you here, Mr. Spencer
Gilbert.
Spencer Gilbert.
Yes.
Murrell is with us today.
No, that's my non-union replacement. Hello.
Hello and
Sorry,
welcome.
I've been crunching numbers this morning. I apologize if I'm a little flustered.
No, I'm equally flustered and so happy that you are with me for this because we just read an article out of Forbes, which brings us to our first story about Justice League and the potential financial loss that Warner Brothers could face. And it involves a lot of math, which Dan is great at. I am not so much, so I'm going to walk us through it just a little bit, and then we'll get, Dan, your take and everybody's take on what's happening with the Justice League.
Do you mind if I just go into a brief coma while you talk about numbers?
These are actually interesting numbers. This is the funny thing about these numbers is that this math is fun.
I'm just gonna big sick it while you do this story.
It's fundamental. These are actually interesting numbers because they have consequences in terms of things that we care about in the world of the movies. So let's walk it through. So this is a Forbes article by contributor Rob Kane, who identifies himself as a former studio executive and current film finance consultant and producer.
Look at Cyborg's arm there.
I said this in the box. The marketing for this movie was just terrible. I thought all of the marketing for this movie was awful.
They're usually really good.
They're usually great.
I'm usually always hyped going in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think we're about to learn that that's because all the budget went into other things.
Maybe so. Yeah, that's true.
Well, actually, quite a bit of it went into the marketing.
Really?
I want to see Spencer's hyped face real quick. I don't. Yeah. That's
I have it so rarely, I don't even know what it looks like.
No, it's good. Sorry.
So Rob Cohen basically broke down, he predicted the final revenue that Justice League was going to make. And these are very educated guesses because they're based on previous properties and what sort of has happened so far. So let's break it down just a little bit. Justice League is estimated to have cost $300 million in production and $150 million in marketing. Based on his predictions, and I encourage you to go read the actual article because it's pretty dense, and we'll have the link in comments and in our description, I believe, Ryan. So thank you, Ryan. So adding the domestic and overseas numbers that he estimates, it's going to bring us to $635 million worldwide in theatrical gross. Of that money, Warner Brothers will get to keep 52% of domestic grosses and a weighted average of 38% of foreign. So that gets us to a sum of $275 million in theatricals going into Warner Brothers coffers. That's a quote. I don't usually use that word, and I'm excited to have used it today.
What is a coffer? I mean, I know it's like in your coffers you're getting the money, but like, what is technically
like
a coffer?
Safe or a box?
Yeah, I think it's like a box. I think it's like an old-timey, and correct us if we're wrong because I am fully making this up.
It's an old-timey box.
It's an old-timey box.
It's like an old-timey money box.
Sure, your coffer.
Okay.
Open up the coffer. See?
Bring out the gold.
I'll accept it.
All right, so if we add up the theatrical rent, then he goes into VOD, which he estimates will be about $170 million.
Okay, so you're in the black, right? At that point?
No.
Are you?
But
or
didn't
are
it
you
only
not?
cost so it cost a total $450 million.
But there are other costs associated with films, which we're going to get into. You have to pay the actors, you have to pay the director, you have to pay overhead costs.
That's not included in the budget, the actors' salaries?
Well, that's a good question.
Participation numbers that don't count. It's a whole thing. He goes into all. It's a big.
He breaks it down. So yes and no, right? Because there are participation points and things like that that are not accounted for necessarily in the initial budget.
Who in that cast gets it? Maybe Ben Affleck. It's not like Henry Cavill gets profit percentages on Justice League movies.
We don't know what kind of deal if you were his agent, what would you want from him?
I would ask for it,
Yeah.
and then Warner Brothers would say no, and then I'd say, okay, I'll still be Superman.
But then there's also Zack Snyder, who you have to imagine, considering his role, and Joss Whedon to have boarded with Warner Brothers in the first place.
Point.
So there are people that will have participation points. So this is what he goes on to say. If you add up the global home entertainment, TV, and fees, we get a revenue of about $575 million. Against that, we deduct $300 million for producing the movie, $150 million for marketing, $60 million for global home entertainment, cost $20 million for talent, guild residuals, and off the top's $20 million in interest expenses, and let's say $50 million for talent participation. Total estimated costs $600 million. Deduct that from $545 million in studio revenue, and we wind up with $55 million, a $55 million loss. That works out to a negative 12% return on investment. Again, he has a much deeper dive in the article, so I encourage you to go read that. And he's also leaving off merchandising because that's
pretty big.
Right, but it's a very...
Yeah, that's the thing. He leaves off merchandising, and I have some issues with his numbers.
Let's discuss.
Now, he lays out his bona fides in this article, so I will say up front, I am not as qualified in industry jargon as he is, but there are a few things comparatively that I don't... It's too soon, first of all. We don't know how this movie's going to do. This is extrapolating like 15 steps of I assumes this and I assume that. Number two, I think that, for example, he projected that the final gross for the movie is going to be $235 million, and he calculated that based on the average multiple of the openings. So basically, there's the thing called a multiplier. So, if a movie opened at $90 million and it made $180 million and it's a 2 times multiple, it made, anyway, he did the average of the multiples for the other movies based on how they opened. This movie opened lower than every other movie. And I think that when you then say, based on, BVS made X amount of money, multiple based on its opening, I don't know if because this is a lower opening, I don't know if that number's going to hold up. He also had it making exactly the same amount of money here in the US as Fantastic Beasts, $235 million. Fantastic Beasts opened almost $20 million lower. So it's kind of saying that, this movie's going to run out of gas $20 million less than Fantastic Beasts. And then the international, he has $180 million less than... The only reason I'm saying Fantastic Beasts is because it's a genre movie. It opened around the same time of year, around Thanksgiving. I've seen a few comparisons in the media to, I think Grace Randolph did a video really going far more in depth to the Fantastic Beasts thing than I did. I've seen a few articles also linking these two. $180 million less internationally than Fantastic Beasts, which again, to me, I know you're extrapolating based on this, that, and the other, but that seems like a big jump. And then leaving aside merchandising, which is that's a lot. Merchandising that's a
it's
big
estimated already at
chunk
$1
of
billion
change.
a year for Wonder Woman and Batman.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's going to be some merchandise sales. I don't know. I think that this was a lot of extrapolation to get to a margin of $50 million and say that the movie's going to lose money. I'm not saying it's not going to lose money. It may, but I think that you're extrapolating a lot based on a lot of unknowns.
Do we know... do we know what percentage Warner Brothers would get of that merchandising versus DC?
That
do we know?
I have no clue. I have no idea.
I'd be curious to know about that. Do we know? Oh, also, I was going to say, does anyone want to talk about what participation points are in case people don't know?
It's just instead of being paid a flat fee, you get a percentage of revenue, right?
Yeah.
Learning.
By the way, according to studios, no movie ever makes money. Ever. I remember reading that Warner Brothers said that Harry Potter lost them money. That's the other thing is it doesn't matter if this movie was profitable by $200 million. Warner Brothers would probably still say it didn't make any money because that's what studios do. Because of participation fees and stuff, people oh, sorry, didn't make any money. It all went to the theater lamps.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just feel like people are forgetting that it came out last weekend, right? So it's been out one weekend, and the weekend after its opening weekend is Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
So people are going to the movies. That's a thing people do on Thanksgiving. They have a long weekend and they don't want to talk politics with their family. So they're going to go to the movies. I feel like people are forgetting that that's happening now.
Yeah. Sure, that's a totally great point. I think he has weighted that in because a typical drop-off is about 50%. So if you go, it's from 93, the drop-off from that, help me, math, 47% roughly? 40, yeah.
Good math.
47%,
Okay.
right? So it'd be $47 million, no, not 47%, $47 million if it has a typical drop-off. If it has a greater than average drop-off, it'll go below that. If it doesn't, if it's 65%, it's still relatively about $52, $53 million next week. So he is, and then he's extrapolating out from the predicted drop-off after that. So,
but it's prediction.
Right.
I think this was a guy at Forbes who knew that if he wrote an article saying that Justice League is going to lose $50 to $100 million for Warner Brothers yesterday, that it's going to get a lot of views and people talk about it, which they are. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. This guy obviously. I'm not attacking the guy. Necessarily for his methods. He obviously well thought out. I just think my main thing is like, it opened 4 days ago. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to do in the U.S. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to do internationally. You're leaving out merchandising. Nobody knows how much money that is. Nobody knows exactly how much money it's going to make. And to say, like, when you have $50 million, like $50 million, well, guess what? If it does $25 million better in the U.S. than you expected, and if it does $25 million better internationally than you expected, then guess what? This whole story that Justice League is losing money for Warner Brothers isn't true. And I just think that's a very small margin to say, I'm going to predict within $25 million domestically and internationally how this movie's going to do and write this story. I just think it's way too early. I think it's way too early. It seems very speculative. I correct my own mistakes because I know that I have jumped to conclusions about box office in the past. Like, this movie is not going to do well, and then it does better than I thought, and then you look stupid. And I don't know. This just seems like a very speculative story to me. And I love the box office, and I love doing these numbers. And I was sitting looking at the numbers, and I'm like, this seems very. You're locking yourself into a very confined box of what exactly this movie is going to do when it could exceed those expectations. I agree, Roth. We talked about this on the box office show yesterday. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and I mean, Coco's coming out, yes, but I mean, this is the kind of movie that does well on an extended 5. The schools are out. It's a 5-day holiday weekend. It got a B+ cinema score. That's better than Batman v Superman. That's about on par with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad did take a huge tumble in its second week, but it opened way higher. So I just think that there's a lot of X factors. I'm not saying it's going to be a hit, but this just seemed a little premature.
I'm so glad you're here today because I feel like that's such a good perspective. I wonder if the guy is not so much trying to predict the future. I mean, obviously this is a predictive piece, which nobody expects everybody to be always on target. But I wonder if he's actually just trying to demonstrate, because I think a lot of questions people have right now is, why is anyone calling this a failure, or why are people headlining that this is a disaster when it's so much money in relative terms? Do you think he's trying to outline how it could lose money? Maybe,
but I mean, the story here is that it is not the unqualified success that Warner Brothers would have wanted. I think that's the story. But it's more of a boring story. Justice League, not quite as successful as Warner Brothers would have hoped.
Selling newspapers.
I mean, that's the story. Obviously, that's really what the heart of it is. It's like, this movie, if it does make money, is going to probably scratch toward breaking even. Yeah. Not what you want, obviously.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and I'm curious your take on this, because Dan and I have definitely talked about this a lot. Like, breaking even is almost worse for a studio because then they can't declare a loss, right? So they just have to eat it in a way. Thoughts?
Yeah, that sucks. It could be, it's kind of a house of cards, all these comic book movies. If 2 or 3 of them don't make money, then they're going to pull the plug on all of them. Just like, because, they're just playing follow the leader. And if they sense that people aren't showing up for these anymore, it's game over, man. It's game over.
I think that's such a defeatist attitude.
I'm playing studio executive, though. This isn't me talking.
I just feel like that, we have so many of these, and sometimes they flop. It does happen. Move on, make a better one. Learn from your mistakes. Improve. Wow, I sound like such an optimist. I apologize.
Despite what I've been told in comments recently, I don't think being optimistic is a bad thing. It's a cruel, cruel world. Find your inner optimism.
Well, yeah, this is also a world where this was outperformed by the 3rd Thor movie, so it's not like comic book movies are dead yet, and they might never. But if you string together enough not unqualified successes for the studios, then yeah, they'll get cold feet about committing to 20 years of team-ups and sequels and stuff.
Well, if we're lucky, I think what they should do is double down and just make terrible movies so that eventually they become like cult classics. Everyone's like, let's watch this terrible movie. Yeah. That's what they should do. Double down.
I don't envy being a Warner Brothers executive, because I feel like the response to this has been so crazy. It's like, in my brain, I was talking to people and just seeing online. In my head, I was like, well, I didn't love Justice League, but I liked it better personally. I liked it better than BVS, and I liked it better than Suicide Squad. I didn't like it as much as I really liked Wonder Woman, and I probably liked it maybe about as much as I liked Man of Steel. But it was a totally different movie. I liked it in a different way. And so in my brain, I was thinking like, well, it might not be the best thing in the world, but I think that it's really exciting, and it left them a lot of avenues to go forward, and that's kind of the mentality that I thought would take hold. And instead, like, I see so many people that are just like, this sucked worse than all of them. BVS and Suicide Squad was so much better. This was a piece of crap. This was a compromised vision. Blah, blah. And it's just like, in my brain, I'm like, wait. We were yelling at BVS and Suicide Squad because they were, were not good, and then this one comes out and it's okay, and I'm like, okay, well that's a good step forward. And people are like, no, this sucks too, and it's like, well then. What do you do? Like, what do you do? There's no exit out of the Funhouse amusement park that we're in. It's just a hall of mirrors.
Welcome to the no exit Funhouse amusement park that is the internet. When you do your comment voice, I get I react like this. Stop yelling at me for the love of God! Oh my God! Please make the horror stop. Look, people on I've looked at the comments around this film, and the truth is everybody just wants a good movie, right? And everybody wants things to work that they like so they can get more of those things. And then it just gets into very minute disagreements about how much you do or do not like it, or how much you do or do not want it to succeed.
I thought we had arrived, though, at a tone, like by the end of Justice League, like I thought we had arrived collectively as fans at a tone where we were just like, okay, you know what? Let's go from here. It took a little scratching and clawing, but let's go from here in a very, I think, positive and exciting way. And I thought that would be the general takeaway, but like all I see is just like, no, not it. This is not it either. And it's like, well, then what? Then what is?
Everybody is looking for something different, and everybody likes something different. So I think what people need to remember is that they can't make a movie that everyone's going to love. That's not a thing that happens. It's no way that every single person is going to love it. This might not have been your movie. The others might have been your movies, or you're not there yet. Maybe think about what it is that you like in a movie and try to find that. I'm trying to make everyone happy here.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
Yes, I know.
I mean, do you think that we're overblowing? Like, if there are lessons to be learned from this, is it way too early to assess them, or are we overblowing the importance of just one film? I mean, you're looking at the entire Warner Brothers DC slate, how much money they've made overall, how much money they think they can make in the future, is where they're coming from as executives. Where we're coming from as viewers is we just want to see good movies.
Mm-hmm. What's the question?
I don't know either. The question is, are we making too much ado about nothing?
I don't know. See, I agree with... I like Warner Brothers and DC's approach, which is to let filmmakers call the shots, because I think, say what you will, the DCU has been Zack Snyder's vision. Mm-hmm. Just like the Dark Knight trilogy was Christopher Nolan's vision. And I agree with that sentiment of like giving somebody creative control and full reign instead of it's a cool alternative to the Kevin Feige, kind of mudging it all together in a homogenous, enjoyable mush. But maybe pick a different auteur other than Zack Snyder, and we're back.
Yeah. All right. Spencer saved it all for us and made me very hungry for Thanksgiving. Enjoyable mush is my favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner. You know what we're definitely getting? More Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn animated series is in the works. This is via Deadline. Warner Brothers this is going to their digital platform. It's an animated adult animated series. They are. I can feel the excitement. Hey, I'm excited. They're hoping that Margot Robbie will voice the character that's not yet known. Yael, you've been catching up on this a bit. What's your take on this series?
I'm actually really excited to see it. I think that it's going to be interesting, and the idea of doing an adult animated action.
How adult is adult, do we think?
So I feel like, and I have no information to back this up, but I feel like it's adult like Family Guy, not adult like Archer, right? So Archer is a little more risque, one might say, but I feel like it's adult like Family Guy, where it's animated and the jokes are political and adult oriented. Kids might enjoy it. If you're like 13, you might get half the jokes, And that's where I think they're trying to go.
Yeah, because to put it on that platform, they'd have to make it at least appropriate for kids to watch.
There's not going to be any nudity.
Well, yeah, I wasn't groaning about the cartoon. I was groaning about another,
direct-to-consumer digital platform.
Yeah, Jeans Monkeys Plus or whatever it ends up being. Like, let's not just have to pay $5 here, $9 there, $12 here. I want to see this. I just wish it would show up on the television or something like that. I would definitely be more excited for that. And I also have to just pull back my enthusiasm just because when I hear DC adult animation, I think about The Killing Joke, and I go, oh no, not again, where it looks like a bad Flash animation slash fic, where Batman and Batgirl bone on rooftops for some reason. I didn't enjoy that movie.
I don't know that
But
you're
Flashpoint was great.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be on CW Seed for some reason. I decided that's where it was probably going to be. And I wanted that. And now I'm sad that it's not.
Have you watched any of the shows on this platform?
I didn't know this platform existed. I assumed they meant CW Seed.
So this is one of, I think, this is the third one.
Of 900 different streaming platforms.
Well, yeah, certainly in terms of I'm with you as a consumer. It is getting out of control how many different streaming platforms there are. But this is one of 3 series that they have greenlit. Live action Titans from Greg Berlanti. Young
See why
Justice.
I thought it was going to be on CW?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is fragmenting. It is fragmenting how and where you can see their shows, which I'm not sure makes a ton of sense. Although I think they're counting on the power of Harley Quinn. But the idea that Margot Robbie would come voice it, what do you think? What are the chances?
I mean,
Mr. J.
How much money do they have, and can they travel to every set she's working on? 14 different movies. Can they go to every set and record her voice? You got to pay her.
Yeah, you got to pay her, but it would probably only take a few days, really.
Yeah, they only ordered 26 episodes.
Yeah, for her to voice it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but I mean, like, they can, like, block some time. It's not like they're going to be working on seasons of this. It sounds like it's going to make 26 episodes and then go, well, this was a waste of our time.
If I was Margot Robbie's agent, I would be pushing these talks until after the Oscar nominations come out, because that's like a 25% bump right there if she gets nominated for an Oscar, which people are already buzzing. But I mean, that's the thing, is like, how much money are they going to dump into this platform, and are you going to pay Margot Robbie money to come in and do the voice of Harley Quinn?
Or are they going to pay that almost as is it almost a marketing fee to get people to the platform because you get to hear Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn? You know what I mean?
But is that the one we want?
Yeah. Or do fans
I love the
want
one from Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is, I don't know.
I like all the end thought. I don't know. Yes.
End thought. Yes.
I
Yes. Or no.
Are we in the works of a Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie?
I think everything is TBD at this point.
Are we?
Other than
We don't know.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman 2.
I just feel like I'd really rather see that.
I don't think that one precludes the other, though.
I just don't think they can afford her to do both.
Yeah, I don't know, unless it's part of an overall deal, right? In which she then can negotiate. If I were her, she then can negotiate for far more creative control, which I actually do think she wants over that character. And certainly anything that would be Gotham City Sirens, which I had heard was kind of her baby.
Yes.
So that's what I would be going after if I were her, because she's probably in a position to be earning a pretty decent salary right now. So it's that creative control that sounds so enticing.
I have a prediction that any superheroes not named Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Batman, or Superman might have their development deals
Backburnered.
in the next few months.
I think right, because the thing about what happens with Justice League is that it does feel like everything that happens with the DC slate going forward is a little bit dependent on that. How true that is or isn't, I don't know. One of the things that people talked about with Justice League was the villain. And another place that people talk about the villain all the time is Marvel. And what villain has been talked about the most with Marvel in a very recent famous tweet?
Malekith.
Thanos?
I don't know. I
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The Socratic method isn't working, so it's Malekith. Christopher Eccleston has claimed that Marvel was dishonest to him about his role as Malekith the Accursed. So this is speaking with Graham Norton on a BBC Radio 2. He said his part was not the greatest moment in his career. He was talking about the long makeup process, and he basically said it took almost a full day just to get the makeup on. And he just said he did it for money. That's exactly what I felt. I wanted money. Marvel were dishonest to me because they never ever let me know there'd be that amount of makeup. So yeah, that was not my finest moment. Now again, thoughts?
The issue with Malekith was not the makeup.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like of everything to complain about, he's complaining about the makeup. Like he is the face of the forgettable comic book movie villain. Was it you? Somebody was talking to somebody saying that like we should start judging forgettable comic book villains based on like 1 to 5 Malekiths.
No, but that's a good scale.
I was talking to apologies. I was talking to somebody who mentioned that, and that was amazing. Malekith is the face of the
That sounds like a Joe
absolutely
thing.
forgettable. It may have been a joke.
It's a Joe thing.
I don't remember. He's the face of the bland, forgettable
Ultimate evil out to destroy the world for reasons.
Yeah. Steppenwolf is a Malekith.
Vague set of powers. It's like everything you know about him is like the thing you would read on the back of like a collectible card.
Yeah.
Like, that's how deep his character went.
I'm so
But that's also
sad.
not his problem. But that's not his fault. He
Read the script, I assume, before he signed on.
I mean, I think what
And
he
he's
was
like, oh, the makeup, though. Oh, they hid the amount of makeup in the frost troll face that I'd have to put. He thought he'd just walk in with his own face.
I just think, what's your take on this?
I love Eccleston so much. He's my favorite Doctor, so this whole story makes me so
Oh,
sad.
it's a Doctor Who.
Yeah, but he's
I know,
super
but-
grumpy about being the Doctor,
I
too.
know. So, yeah, this makes me so sad. The fact that he's saying that Marvel was dishonest about the amount of makeup, I think what he means is they didn't mention he'd be in full makeup. I think that's what it was. That he was like, oh, I'm playing a character, and they went, oh, also you're going to be in makeup. And he went, what? I am shocked by this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. 10 things. It's really just one, but it's
Okay.
to the factor of 10. You don't just show up on set and get your makeup done one day and not know that that was going to happen. Why? Because there are makeup tests leading into the production in which the producers approve or disapprove looks, which means that he absolutely knew that he was going to wear that makeup, and he absolutely knew what the look was because he had it tested, not first on 15 other I live with him. Special effects makeup artist.
Oh.
So they test it basically on the people that work in the shops first. They get approvals, and then they bring in the talent and they do the makeup on them as well. So there's just no way he just surprised day one you're in makeup. There's just no possible way that he didn't know that. He'd been shown concept art. So I really think that the crux of what he's saying that is true is I did it for the money. Good for you.
I think
Why
it's
not?
such like a unintentional self-own because like he thought he had the face of an evil troll naturally. Like, wait, why are you putting makeup on? Like, I look like an evil troll monster. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. If I read a script, I'm no actor, but if I read a script that says I'm playing Malekith the Dark Elf, I'm thinking maybe there might be some makeup involved.
Well, maybe he assumed it would all be CGI. That seems to be a thing that happens.
That's true.
I don't blame him for being I'm sure he's asked about it a lot, and he just sort of wants the question to stop and be like, I don't know, it was a lot of makeup. I did it for the money. Can we talk about my new Shakespeare play or whatever it is that I'm doing?
What makes me sad is that seems to be his MO. Is that like he'll do an interview and be like, stop asking me questions that are reasonable. That's
Wait,
what I think keeps happening.
Did you say he's grumpy about being Doctor Who?
Yeah,
as well?
he'll never participate.
The
he
Doctor.
never.
I'm sorry, I made
he
a
just,
huge mistake.
When
I
they,
apologize.
But you knew, which is what's
Yes.
important.
They did this big episode in which all of the
It
Doctors
was the 50th
returned.
anniversary
The 50th
special.
anniversary special.
They
and
brought back a few and he wouldn't do it,
And he
so they had to
wouldn't do
rewrite
it. Yeah, they had to rewrite the show because he would not participate.
I'm not being rude. I'm just going to look something up while
Yeah,
you
please.
discuss.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he had a lot of drama with the showrunner that came in. There was a whole thing.
With Stephen Moffat.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can say his name.
I would rather not.
If we say it 3 times, he'll appear.
Oh, please don't. I'm happy to discuss more on Twitter about Doctor Who.
All right, happy to move on from Doctor Who. My point is this: is that I think he's the kind of actor, and who can blame him for this, that likes doing certain projects that maybe don't yield the kind of payday that Thor does. And so he did it. He did it for the money. So what? That's okay.
What'd you look up?
I was looking up to see if he had any convention appearances, but he does not.
No, he doesn't.
So I kudos for standing by. I was ready to slam dunk, and you know what? He's at least got the courage of his convictions by not, hating and then cashing in his photo opportunity.
I think he thinks of himself more as like an artist, and that he focuses on the art of the projects that he chooses rather than I am an actor who wants fame and celebrity. Not saying that all actors want that, just saying that like there are some that do.
Yeah.
If that made sense.
Yeah.
So him aside, and these quotes aside, what do we think? Why is there seemingly such a villain problem, and what solves it? Is there a villain that they could have done more or better with, or is it always just
the accuser?
Sure. But I'm saying like, do they ultimately always get the short shrift because we're focused on the heroes?
I remember when Guardians of the Galaxy was the first one was coming out on Blu-ray, we got to talk to James Gunn, and we were just like, is there something, because we were doing the honest trailer, we're like, this is a really good movie and it's hard for us to do the honest trailer, what do you what's something that you think is wrong? And he specifically mentioned Ronan, and he was like, you know what, when you're making the movie and you have a bunch of heroes like the Guardians of the Galaxy, you want to spend more time with them, and the byproduct of that is you have to get rid of a bunch of the stuff with the villain because you want to spend more time with the heroes. And he's like Ronan the Accuser became a lesser character because we had to spend more time with the heroes. And I think that's what it is. I mean, particularly with Marvel, the way that the tone of their films is they want you to spend a lot of time with their heroes, but conversely, that means you don't spend much time with the villains. And I think that's why that's not an excuse. I think they still need to figure that out. I mean, I think Ragnarok was kind of working on a workaround by saying like, well, there's not really, a villain. It's kind of more of an experience. But I think that's why is Marvel has a villain problem because they want you to spend time with their heroes, and that means that you get Guy Pearce Mandarins and Malekiths and Ronans and all of these kind of forgettable, even Red Skull, very forgettable. That's why.
I now really want to do your scale of like measuring everyone.
On a scale of Malekith.
Yeah, I really want to do that now.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree with Dan. Making movies is a balancing act, especially maybe we'll move past this, but to this point, so many of them have been origin stories or first instances in a franchise. So you have to spend time getting to know the hero, and either you don't care and you have a 3-hour comic book movie, or you have to cut something, and usually that's love interests and villains because the movie's about the heroes and you want to get to know and love them. I think they're doing a better job now with their third acts of like Civil War, Doctor Strange. What else came out that I really like the third act of? I like Thor Ragnarok, the way that they're subverting, where it's not just punching the big CGI army. They're doing twists at the end, but still the character development for the antagonist is not.
Who did Mads Mikkelsen play in Doctor Strange? I don't remember,
but I like what they did at the end with the time loop.
The guy with the eyes?
The guy with the eyes.
The guy with the eyes.
Yeah, I remember. I saw it.
Yeah. I remember he had eyes and they were weird. Caecilius.
Who could forget Caecilius?
Guy Pearce Mandarin. They had Ben Kingsley Mandarin.
Yeah.
Great villain. Not the villain. Guy Pearce Mandarin. Not a good villain. Yeah. Actually the villain.
But when you think about and I'll put this to you guys as well, when you think about movies that actually have a great villain full stop, let's start thinking about, like, I'm just starting to think about that because they're doing it on the shows, right? They're doing it on the Netflix series. They give us great villains there for the most part. Yeah. And then you mentioned Mads, who played an amazing villain in Hannibal. So what are some movies just that are not even comic book movies that have both a great protagonist and a great antagonist? There are so many probably, but yeah. So why can't we do it? My point with that is like, why is it so much more difficult when you introduce the fact that it's a superhero movie?
I think it's because you don't have enough time to like
Silence of the Lambs. Great. Both sides. Go ahead.
I just feel like that one was about the villain,
But she's also a great character.
Right, but I feel like they were focused on the villain, whereas all of our movies, our superhero movies, they're focused on the heroes, and so we don't have time to really explain why it is that these villains are so evil. Whereas like TV has seasons to build this.
And then Spider-Man movies always do the shortcut of the villain is also an important relationship from the beginning in the hero's life. So you can kind of double team your villain story and the best friend or the dad or whatever story at the same time.
Yeah.
The one, well, not the one, but the one that I can think of, big superhero movie, though, that gave equal time to the villain and the hero, Man of Steel. General Zod, too dark. For a lot of people. So it's like, what do you do? Forgettable villain, fun superhero movie, have a villain problem, stay with the villain, too glum and gloomy because the villain is a villain and he's got bad plans.
And Dark Knight was amazing. Also, like almost a 3-hour movie.
Dark Knight's about 2.5, yeah.
2.5, but they only spend he only has 20 minutes of screen time, something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they really
God,
caught lightning in a bottle there.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do that every time.
You're not, but I think that you guys nailed it in terms of the fact that it's a tone issue too, right? Because the Dark Knight could have that Joker, and that is not even arguably the greatest comic book movie villain ever seen on screen. I'm sticking by it.
Controversial stance.
Certainly, it's one of the most effective. Certainly, it's one of the most lingering. That's the one everybody's trying to catch. But you couldn't put that in a Marvel movie ever, right? Because it's a tone issue. And so you either have a villain who's light enough to exist in a world like that, and then they're not scary. Or you have a really scary one that doesn't fit. I don't know. It's a problem I don't have to solve, which is good. But I have enjoyed us giving it a whirl, and your insights have been amazing today, Yael. Thank you for joining us. Spencer, as always. Dan, thank you for working through those numbers. Yes. Oh my God, I opened up that article and I was like, it is so much math. Mama's got to study. Thank you. I'm going to say this. I woke up not feeling that well today, so I don't know that I'm going to totally be here tomorrow. So I will say this as we head into that. I probably will be. We don't know. But I want to say something about Thanksgiving, which is thank you guys for joining us and for sticking with us in our unwieldy experiment that is ScreenJunkies universe. You guys have been awesome. We've been finding this show over the last several months and continue to find it. Why do you look confused?
I was looking for the show.
Where's the show? He took it literally. And I truly appreciate you guys for sticking with it. I appreciate you guys for sticking with it. We self-deprecate, we have fun, we give each other guff because Spencer just keeps looking so confused that I'm losing my train. I wanted to do a sincere thing.
We're coming back tomorrow, right?
We are, but I
Do you know something we don't know?
What's happening?
I literally woke up feeling, I just didn't feel well, and like tomorrow's heading into Thanksgiving, so I just wanted to say it today in case I'm not here.
So you've already decided you're going to
calling
start
it sick vacation early. You're taking this to a 3-day
I just woke up, I didn't feel good.
Roth, have a great vacation. We'll see you next Monday.
I just really want to try and do something sincere. I'm serious.
You picked the wrong show.
Just give me 2 seconds to try.
Okay.
I'm going to say this for real. Okay. We give each other crap, but the truth is, now more than ever, I totally love, adore, and respect each one of my colleagues as the brothers and sisters that they are, and the wonderful people in this world and the wonderful contributions that they make. I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of it. And to you guys for being with us and being such a great community. And I self-deprecate and kid around the show. It's always about me. It is never about them ever. Because I'm just saying that so that it's very clear how much I respect you guys. And Joe Starr, who we love and adore as well. And yeah, that's it. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Roth. It's very nice.
You guys look so skeptical. You doubt my sincerity.
I don't doubt anything.
I'm so honored to be here for the sincere moment.
And you too, and our amazing guests. You know what? Forget it. Screw you. I'm calling in sick tomorrow. I give up. I tried to have a real moment.
It was very nice.
Of my actual feelings.
Oh, no show tomorrow. Everyone go home.
You know what? I really was trying here to say thank you and thank them. And we hope to continue to give you weird entertainment. Forget it.
Bye-bye.
Forget it.